be live in three.
Ooh.
Actually, we're live, but I'm going to run the promo anyway. What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a good brother. Hashtag Brother Me Softly. He is the host and creator of the RRBG Podcast and a soon-to-be I guess, release podcast surrounding the legendary Comedy Store. He's the great Eddy Torres. Eddy, what's going on?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me. Thanks for talking to me here. Wrong hand. Wrong hand.
There you go.
I don't even know how to do this. There we go. There we go.
There you go. Damn, too sweet.
All right, too sweet.
yes.
Yeah, brother. Thank you for having me on. It just got announced just now, so it's on. It's official. It's on their Instagrams and social medias and whatnot. But I will be co-hosting the official Comedy Store Wrestling Show.
What?
That's what it's called. CSW. That's what we're calling it. The Comedy Store Wrestling Show. And it's going to live on their official network, the Comedy Store Podcast Network. And I'll be co-hosting with the legendary Earl Skakel of Inappropriate Earl fame. He also is in the Jellies. He's the dad in the Jellies, which is Tyler, the Creator's animated show. He's the only like white guy acting in the show. But it's great. He's awesome. He's knowledgeable. He's a fan of the old school stuff, and he just recently got into AEW. So he loves the way that they're treating Sting. So he's up to date with AEW, and I'm gonna be the WWE defendant. I'm gonna salute the tribal chief and all that. But no, it should be fun. We're gonna talk. We're gonna have guests. So our first guest is gonna be Josh Barnett. Obviously, got to call upon the War Master to start this war. You know what I mean? Start a war against all the other wrestling podcasts out there, and eventually, yeah, it'll be War Master and Jetski Johnson, who's a door employee, not a door. She's an employee of the Comedy Store, and she's up and coming. She's used to be part of the Kill Tony band with the trumpet, and now she's just working her way up the ranks. Opening up the O room, opening up the main room the other day.
Damn.
So she's going to be in. She doesn't watch wrestling, and that's part of the concept of the show is to have one comedian there that doesn't watch wrestling and introduce them to some of the wackier elements of pro wrestling, so they can be like, what the fuck? So yeah, we'll watch some Buried Alive matches. We'll watch some, Symphony of Destruction gimmicky matches. People on a pole match, all that good stuff. You know how it is.
People on a pole. I mean, hopefully it's I would love to see the reactions of the Judy Bagwell on a forklift.
Yeah, oh, that one? Yeah.
No, 100%. R.I.P. Judy Bagwell, WCW great. And speaking of WCW greats, our carryover from the president of WCW, Micmac, who chimes in on the After 83 Weeks and 83 Weeks podcast. He's hey, homie, with literal Bischoff face. So there you go. There you go.
What up, homie? And by the way, congratulations to you being a part of that. That's huge and awesome. I'm not waging war against you. You're on my team, so I'm not.
No, fuck yes. We're gonna converge. If I can get and that's Steve Kaufman, George Hermosa, Christy Olsen, great friends, part of the AfterBuzz crew when AfterBuzz was still a thing, and then Bischoff. That's so wild. Like,
you're working with Bischoff, dude.
That's fucking weird. It's fucking weird, man. Like I told my wife, I was just like, there was a moment because they do the one of these gimmicks, like this, like a solo layout. There you are, right? And then I was just like, I see full screen Bischoff, and then it has the little live theming of a jig, and I'm like, oh, I'm here too. Like, holy. Like,
you're not just watching, you're a part of the show.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, all right, that's what's happening.
And he's been picking up steam on TV too. I mean, he was in AEW for a thing, and then he showed up in WWE for a thing, and it's just he's all over the place. So
actually, awesome. Never forget, he was between the stint of AEW and then WWE. He was on Roads to the Top, the number one wrestling reality TV show. Like, At
Yeah.
least Cody will tell you that.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Alex Ramirez says, have them watch AEW Dark. Now that's comedy.
Oh, hot take. Yeah, I don't watch Dark.
Alex.
I don't watch Dark, and it's no offense to Dark. I just don't. I'll wait till they, develop. There's enough wrestling to watch. I might have to start watching Dark though, if since I'm gonna have a wrestling show and all that. But right now, I mean, unless a friend of mine is performing on it, like I
Yeah.
saw Alex Chamberlain from Miami was on one of the episodes, so I tuned in for that. But just to support the homie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really don't care to watch that much wrestling every day of the week, you know what I mean? Where I have to watch Dark and Dark Elevation. Like, why do we have all this? It's too much.
It was weird, and it was the story about CM Punk getting the concussion, and he just watched Half Bake, and he had it on one of those old school TV VCR combos. So like he didn't know where he was at, because when it would end it would just stop, rewind, and whatever. So he'd wake up and there'd be like a fucking thing. But I think it was like a month, like just a black period of talk about Into the Void, where he was concussed, didn't have medical attention, and just watch Half Bake and didn't know which part. And that was me during COVID with AEW Dark, where I put one on, and I didn't know where I was in terms of like the sequence of dates and whatever the fuck. And I was just like, oh, that person, whatever. It was just weird. It's just fucking weird. I don't recommend anybody do that. I also don't recommend anybody get COVID. That sucks. No,
don't do
hell
it.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Be the opposite of what Nike does, but it's fucking cool, man, because one thing, and we were kind of talking off air, I actually alluded to you, is like one thing about you is you feel the space, right? You're a true and ardent podcaster, which I appreciate, because some people, especially during the pandemic, right, they thought, hey, I do this thing, or I talk about this subject, or I get this guest and I'm going to get $1 gazillion. And I think at times, as much as I personally like Rogan, when he signed that Spotify deal, everybody's like, I'm going to do a podcast. And it became easier to do it because, you could, drive into the fucking Best Buy, or hell, if you're lazy and you just fucking $100 to burn, go and get the shit on Amazon to have it delivered to your door, and you've got a podcast theoretically, right? Or a social media following. But one thing I love about you is how earnest you are in terms of conversation. You treat the guests with respect, but also you respect yourself enough where you're not like, we're on same level. Like we're having a conversation, and it's so you almost see your guests at times. That obviously you have a lot of guests that have a rapport with you, but then there are some that don't, and you could see almost like that showbiz aspect of it kind of drain away as the conversations wear on. And I think you're absolutely masterful of it. But in terms of your relationship building, I mean, the comedy store, this endeavor is something that you get to combine your love of pro wrestling, comedy, right, and kind of even bring in some of your rock and roll context, into the space, and have this world of fucking enjoyment.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, the Comedy Store has a strong connection to wrestling and also rock and roll. I mean, it's on Hollywood, it's in the Sunset Strip. Any time of the week, you can walk in there and there's some kind of celebrity there. The other day I was there. I go every Tuesday now. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but people showing up. But I do hang out on Tuesdays there for the roast battle, and I hang out with the homies from Kill Tony Band, like the Joel and Jetsy and Chroma Chris. Jeremiah's doing stuff up there now, so I go out every Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday too, and just hang out. And I, the other week I was just chilling at the back bar there, and in walks fucking Quentin Tarantino and Fred Durst and fucking Brad Pitt, and I'm just like, what? And I tried not to I was having a conversation with one of the comedians, and they're talking, and I couldn't hear them anymore. It was just like, like what? My brain just flatlined. And I turned to the I'm sorry, man. I just try not to have a panic attack as my favorite filmmaker of all time walks by. But then, my buddy would reassure me. He's like, this is the Comedy Store. This is what happens here every week. Just get used to it. Like, okay, you're right. So I hung out and just fist bumped Tarantino while he was telling stories. And he was like putting on a show for everybody that was there. There was a circle around him. He was like basically performative storytelling. He was just telling a story, and maybe he wants to get into stand up. I don't know. Brad Pitt didn't really interact with anybody. I didn't even get close. That's a different stratosphere, I think.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a wonderful, magical spot that shit like that happens. I've been fortunate enough that I got introduced into the store by Uncle Joey, you know, because I talked to Joey Diaz online before all of this, before I even moved out here. I was just talking to Joey because we're from the same neighborhood in New Jersey. He has the same attorney as my dad. Like, you know, like we knew, like we didn't know each other personally, but we have so much history in that connected. So we would just chat back and forth, back and forth. I was trying to get him on the show, and you know, he was like, you know, keep growing, and we'll talk. I'm like, okay, all right. And he became kind of like a, you know, mini, not mentor, but just, you know, I obviously just like, I'll follow the path, whatever you tell me to do. And he invited me out to the store one night, and I went out, hung out. He gave me a bag of weed, and they hear me just hang out with everyone and just talk to people. And then after that, I started listening to the Store Horsemen, which, you know, shout out to the Store Horsemen for, I'm not doing anything brand new. The Comedy Store Wrestling Show is a new idea in terms of the wording and the title and everything. But, you know, the Store Horsemen used to be there. And those are all my boys. And that's Tony Hinchcliffe and Chris Burns and Matt Edgar and Johnny Scortis and Josh Meyerowitz. And they're all great. But they decided to, you know, Tony left to Texas.
Right.
And Chris is busy as hell with his day job. And, you know, there's just a lot of, everybody's doing other things. So the show kind of disintegrated. And there's an opening. And that's me, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing stuff. And then when I see an opening, that's when I throw a fucking punch. So I took my shot and met the producers down at the store. And you know, like I said, I've been hanging out every week. And you know, hey, would love to start a show here sometime. And he's like, oh, we're looking to start a wrestling show again because the Store Horseman is kind of, I'm like, well, you found your guy. And so we just started shooting ideas back and forth. Right now, it's going to be a monthly podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the way entertainment works, that's going to change quick. That's how RRBG started monthly, and now I do it weekly. So it's one of those things. I like doing podcasts. I like talking to people. I like entertaining. I like, you know, connecting dots, as I say sometimes. And this is a perfect way to connect dots that I love. And, you know, bringing in Josh Barnett. That's the homie. And he's got a, you know, we don't need to introduce Josh Barnett. Everybody knows who he is. And bringing in comedy and bringing comedians, I'll bring in musical guests too that are friends of mine, you know, that maybe they'll be the guest that doesn't like wrestling, and we'll bring in a comedian that does like wrestling, and, you know, swap it around and keep it interesting. And then eventually I want to do what the Store Horsemen did with Storecade. I want to have a wrestling show, and whether it's, you know, we run the whole show or we team up with somebody like a GCW or something, then we can do a show in the store or even outside of the store in the parking lot, or even in another venue, and it just be, you know, Comedy Store Wrestling Show presents blah 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 blah, and we team up with people. But we definitely want to do live shows. We want to bring the podcast to a live audience too eventually. I think maybe do a pay-per-view watch party kind of thing that they, you know, have people come out, watch Royal Rumble with all of us, and we do live commentating and have guests and, you know, whatever. So it should be a fun time. I mean, I'm super honored, and I still can't believe that I managed to pull this off, even though I've been working on it for years. Like the way that my life goes usually is I work my ass off and then it falls flat and then I have to restart over, and you know what I mean? And like, and to see it actually come to fruition, and I'm referencing like music projects. Like sometimes I'll start projects with people and nothing happens. Like we write one song, it comes out, and then nothing happens. Or I'll start a podcast, like, you know, Let There Be Heels. This isn't my first wrestling podcast either. I had Let There Be Heels with my buddies Matt and Zach and Sarah, and that kind of like we did like 14 episodes, and then it just became too much work. So I'm hoping that this now, you know, this monthly thing is good, but I want it to be more, and I'm ready to put the work in and bring everybody some entertainment.
No, absolutely. And I think it's amazing the acronyms that you're using. It's CSW, and your first guest is Barnett, who used to train at CSW in Fullerton, so
Makes
that's a,
sense.
you know, com- and the W in that is wrestling. So that remains true. But I mean, it's amazing that you have again factored yourself in here, which I have to ask. Do you have a favorite era of wrestling? That maybe that you want to you'd kind of be giddy. I mean, the whole deal is giddy to you, but like that you really want to go like deep dives into and kind of like show people like or you might even want to hold it because you're going to have somebody on the panel that might not like wrestling and you don't want them to shit on your wrestling, like. But
I
is
don't
there
care. I don't really care about that. I mean, that's why I hang out at the roast battle. I like roasting. I like roast comedy. I like self-deprecating comedy. Whatever. I mean, that's not an issue. But, um, it's weird. I always used to say the Attitude Era. That was like my
mm,
thing. Stone Cold. That whole Vince and Stone Cold thing was like the peak for me. But I've always said that. But I gotta say, after time has been passing, I kind of feel like the new Bullet Club era, like AJ and A Bay, what's his name, Adam Cole,
Adam
like
Cole? Yeah.
that whole time period in the when the Young Bucks kind of started, getting bigger, and then Cody joined in, like that was really exciting. And I think though it's partially because I was involved in like what was happening. Like I was going to the local shows and watching
uh,
like the Bucks invade bar wrestling, or I went out to Ontario and hung out with the Bullet Club, and I think I've told this story before. I don't know if here or somewhere else, but I went out to Ontario when the Bullet Club was taking over and they were going to invade Raw. Remember that?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they did
They
a
got
whole
Jimmy Jacobs
BT.
fired, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got Jimmy. That's right. I forgot about that. But yeah, I saw the tweet or whatever of that, and I drove out to Ontario, and I walk into the mall, and I see this line of people, like hundreds of people, waiting for them, for the guys to come out. And I just walked into the Hot Topic. They were waiting. Everybody was waiting in line. I just walked in, and it was the Bullet Club guys. It was Adam Page, the Hangman, Cody, Brandy was there, and I just kind of stood around for a minute, just kind of like. And
Hmm.
I think that's one of my gifts is that I look like I belong wherever we are. Everybody thinks I'm security or I work there or I'm backstage or what. I mean, so I just stood there for a while, and they were taking pictures and talking to the employees and whatever. And eventually I walk up to Hangman. I'm like, hey man, cool shit. This is exciting. And he's like, yeah, man, this is great. Who are you with? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm here for you guys. And he's like, okay, cool. Here, let me get Cody. And he gets Cody. Cody walks over and is like, hey, what's up, man? You want a Bullet Club shirt to wear? Because we're going to be filming some stuff. It'd be cool to have you wearing that. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And he just gives me a Bullet Club shirt. He's like, cool. Now you're in the Bullet Club. Too sweet. And then I'm standing there and I'm just wearing the Bullet Club shirt. And then they're like, all right, we're going to march outside and say what's up to the people. And we're going to march out to the parking lot and we're going to start filming as we approach this crowd of people and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to give a speech. I'm like, okay, cool. And we just start. It was me as part of the crew walking. And if you watch that episode of BT, you'll see me there in the crew walking with him. And and then all of a sudden, I'm in the Bullet Club invading Raw. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what it is. I didn't know any of those guys personally, but that's been my entire life. I would show up to a concert and just like walk up to the door, and somebody will walk me into the show, just out of nowhere. I'll be like, hey, yeah, man, what's going on? Oh, like in New York, I was there to visit family for holidays, and I saw the Rose Theater was playing, and it was Deftones, and it said an evening with the Deftones, and I do know some of the Deftones guys, so that was a little bit of an easier in. But I was still young, and we weren't close. It was just
Right.
like we've met once or twice, and I just walked up to the bus, and I saw Juan, who's their tour manager, and I was like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm here from Florida, like I visiting family for holidays, and I saw this and it's sold out, but I kind of want to go. And he's like, oh yeah, we'll put you on the list, dude. I'm like, and
Fuck.
that's my whole life has been that way. That's how I found my band. It was like just coincidences, and now I'm just kind of leaning into it and figure out how to make stuff happen. Because if I get, if I have a gift like that, I guess I should take advantage of it a little bit.
I think so. No, absolutely. But it's not, again, like I said, when you enter a room, and whether that be a physical actual room or a, like the fucking media space, right? That we incorporate with your podcast, you're there, like, and you kind of make us feel at home, right? I almost liken how, like, you're kind of our Bob Saget for those who know you, right? No, 100%, because like you belong, right? And no matter what the fucking deal is, you fucking crack people up, you make them feel like they belong. And of course, if you're going to do that and you do it with the earnest, genuine sincerity, well, guess what? That's going to be repaid in kind. I feel,
Yeah.
So
treat others as you would like to be treated, as they say, right?
1,000%.
It's let me tell you, and I hate to keep talking.
No,
I just have a lot going on.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. But to share some stories about what's going on. Sorry, I feel like my downstairs neighbors is banging on the floor for some reason. Anyway, you mentioned Bob Saget, and by the way, thank you for that compliment. A fantastic compliment. But hold on, something's going on. Our downstairs neighbor is really banging. 1 second.
They hear you knocking, but they can't come in. I mean, you did have like somebody invade. It looked like not too long ago.
All right, sorry about that, man.
Well, did you have like somebody? Didn't you have like an event that happened earlier in the week where somebody was trying to jump or some shit off your building?
Yeah, 2 days ago there was the cops were here and ambulances and all kinds of shit, and they were fucking. I walk outside and apparently somebody was trying to jump off the roof of our building, and helicopters and everything. So I went ahead and went outside to see what was going on. Apparently it was a criminal that had escaped and was running from the cops and ended up fucking sneaking into our building and going to the roof.
I mean, that seems a little bit like I don't know, Janet Jackson's Runaway video. There was a video that she had in like the 90s where she would just like fucking jump from building to building and shit like that. So I want to believe that dude was cosplay. He's like, I'm already going to fucking jail anyway. I'm going to fucking jail. So let me be like Janet Jackson and just do that.
Yeah. So going back, I'm sorry, I got distracted with the downstairs thing. So the Bob Saget, and again, thank you for that compliment. I was at the store like the night after he passed, and people were tributing him, and there's been some crazy tribute shows there with like Jim Carrey and just big shows have been going on there. But the other night I went to the store and they had his family was there, his whole family, Bob Saget's family, and I was hanging out with him, and it was just the weirdest kind of like weird, sad, kind of like, man, what the hell's going on? Why am I part of this? But also I'm grateful. You know what I mean? But yeah, Bob Saget's family, we started a Saget's dick chant at one point because one of the comedians made a joke about seeing her dad's dick when she was little and how it traumatized her forever. And then we started talking about how Bob Saget is America's dad. So, we all want to see dad's Saget's dick. And so everybody in the audience just started chanting Saget's dick. It was weird, but also heartwarming in a weird way.
No, that's comedians, right? I mean, if you listen to a podcast or any bit of content involving comedians, like that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the dark humor. I mean, it's the aristocrats. And speaking of fucking Saget himself, right? The aristocrat joke, like you just fucking go dark, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. I think Gilbert Gottfried, when they roasted Saget, on Comedy Central not too long ago, he fucking what was the bit, like he raped and killed the fucking 13-year-old in 92 or some shit like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the details, but it was pretty rough.
It was wild, right? And I mean, that wasn't that long ago. That's within this decade and what have you. But like, that's how comedians behave, So that's if you're going to the fucking Comedy Store and you're like, oh, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, you can't go there not to laugh. You gotta go laugh. And that and the comedians will give you shit if you show up at roast battle and you're not applauding and you're cringing and stuff. They'll tell you straight up like, this is your fault. You paid money to be here. You know what I mean? And you know what you're paying for. Start laughing or get out, basically. But
I mean, that's fucking dope, though. I mean, hell yes.
yeah, dude. So there's that. I just also recently announced for your fans, if anybody drinks beer, you're into craft beer. I mean, RRBG stands for Rock and Roll Beer Guys, so I got the beers as well. But we just teamed up with Knotfest, Slipknot's official festival, which goes around the world, and it's quite an honor as well. But just being teamed up with them to put out a beer box that you can order. If you go to knotfestbeerpit.com, you can buy a box of 4 or 8 beers, which is, it'll be 4 selections, and you can order 1 of each or 2 of each. So it'll be 8 beers. But I picked out 4 special beers to have in this box, and, lots of communicating and coordinating with the distributors and, coordinating with the brewers. And I tried to involve friends in my box, because they've done this box with a couple other people as well. And they were just fans and maybe some friends here or there, but I wanted to make sure to include people that were friends of mine. So one of the beers is the Guayabera Pale Ale from Cigar City Brewing, which is where I used to work. It's where I got my start with the industry and everything. So I wanted to include it in the box just because it's my beer. Basically, that beer exists because I willed it into reality with lots of conversations with Wayne Wombles and Joey Redner. So there's a Guayabera. There's a Other Half Brewing. Other Half is in New York City. One of their owners is Matt Monahan. He was on the podcast a while back with Ross Hurt from Rigs of Dad, which is a funny, a parody kind of metal parody Instagram account that you can follow, and he has his own podcast too. But so Other Half, double dry hopped Green City is one of the beers. Cosmic Eye Brewing's collaboration with Municipal Waste. They have a lager. It's super crushable, chuggable lager, which is Your Cutoff Volume 2. And then finally, from Belching Beaver, I put in a brown ale, the Deftones collaboration. And since we were talking about Deftones, like I'm glad I can call a couple of them my friend. And it's one of my favorite bands of all time. And it's an honor to just be included into all of this and have it all just come together like this: beer and music and wrestling. And it's a really exciting time right now. That's all I got to say. But yeah, go to knotfestbeerpit.com, get yourself a box of beer that I made and curated and put together. Wow. And hopefully more coming from Knotfest as well. They're we're in talks. I'm talking to their people, and they want to hire me on as some kind of personality of some sorts, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't have anything to announce there, but I know that we're in talks for something.
That's good. I mean, that's actually a game that we played with Bischoff in regards to the recently released WWE talent over the last fucking 2 years, 24 months, I think it was when they started. And it was just like, I think it was 3 categories, but one was like, you're going to fucking sign me up. We're in talks, like we're talking, or just like, hey, just keep on going, right? So
yeah.
It's kind of cool that you're in some ways doing that yourself.
Yeah, it's weird, man. My wife gives me shit all the time. I overwork myself or stretch myself too thin or whatever it may be. But I'm not. Maybe it's a mental disorder. Maybe it's autism. I don't know. I just feel like I don't. I'm never comfortable just chilling. And maybe that's a bad thing. I'd like to chill in public, like when I'm with friends, and even then, you'll see me. If anybody that's hung out with me at shows and stuff, they'll know that I'm there with you for 5-10 minutes, as much as I can be, and then I'm gonna do something. And it's not an offense to anyone in particular. It's just kind of like I'm trying to do shit. I'm tired of working a day job, and my day job's fine. I love it, and I love the company and everything, but I want to work for myself. I'll put the work in as long as it's for something I'm doing for me. And so maybe I'm selfish. Who cares? But yeah, I got to try and do different things. And some things don't work out. You know, like I try to do Twitch. I can't do it. I'm not a Twitch streamer. I'm not a TikToker. My TikTok's picking up actually, which is nice. But
Really?
you know what I ended up doing is just cutting myself out completely from it. So now if you go to my TikTok, it's just the guest's face, you know, from the episode, and that's it. And maybe that's working better with their algorithm. I'm still trying to figure it all out.
I got kicked off of fucking TikTok or saying the same dumb shit that I put on Instagram or
Oh
whatever,
yeah,
and they were
the
like,
memes and
"Oh,
stuff.
it's too fucking violent and shit like that." And I was like,
Really? I've seen
"Yeah,
there's no fail videos and stuff on TikTok.
there are, but I guess you have to be of Fail Army to kind of get the fucking pass or whatever."
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I didn't even know they sent me notices, like because they do it
Oh,
via email. I fucking don't check my like. If anybody's trying to reach out to me via email, it's dead in the water. Like I don't even like it. Even calling, like DM is kind of like the way that I fucking move about the country and shit like that. But
yeah,
yeah, apparently you can't fucking share those videos on TikTok. I'm like, to me, especially during the pandemic and like what the fuck, whether you believe it's real, whatever, political leanings or whatever. To me, it was almost like cathartic, right? Where you couldn't really fucking do much, for the better part of 20 some odd months and what have you. You see people, businesses failing, their mental health, all this shit and what have you.
yeah.
And for me, I'm like, my protest is a protest against all of it. Fuck it. People are getting shot, people are whatever the fuck, disowning family, whatever the fuck. So I'm just gonna share fucking weird ass videos and memes and face swabs with no context. That's just it. And I'm gonna just fucking bombard you with it, And
Wasn't that
then
what John Cena was? Wasn't that what John Cena was doing for a while too? He was just posting stuff with no context.
yeah, that's it. I think that's the best, because once you put an emoji or whatever to it, try to add some, even the most minuscule. That's the shit that will get you canceled. That's what I'm feeling.
Maybe don't do stuff that gets you canceled.
That too, that too, that too. But again, the fucking goalposts are always moving. So it's just
Yeah, I
like,
guess. Just I mean, you can't put too much stock into it. Like you look at some of the comedians that have been canceled, and they're not. You look at Tony Hinchcliffe, canceled. He's not. Ari canceled. No, he's not. He's fine, and they're selling out shows, and they're doing great. Um, do I agree with what some of these people say that gets them canceled? No, and some people shouldn't be saying some shit. That's just how it is. But I think as long as I'm generally a good guy and I'm not doing some messed up shit to anyone, um, I'll be fine in terms of getting canceled. I don't. I've never slept with. I've never cheated. I've never slept with any underage people. I've never, even there's no crime that I'm hiding. You know what I mean? That's if people, my friends are, oh, the government's watching you. They're on your cell phone. They're tracking you. I'm like, fine. I don't care. I'm not. What am I doing? I'm watching wrestling and talking about it to you guys. That's it. Like I'm not, organizing some kind of revolution. It's not. I'm not into that. So I don't worry about that shit. I don't worry about getting canceled because I know that in my heart I'm not doing anything to get canceled. So fuck it.
but what you are doing is actually, and I think this person who we both know, and I met through you, is actually trying to get ahead of the curve. While
And
he's
get
trying to
canceled first.
cancel, yes, absolutely. But Rainin Bozio,
Yeah.
that guy, and Matt Slayer. Matt Slayer is trying to get him canceled.
Yeah. Hey,
Rainin is like, fuck it, why not?
it
And
works out for some people. Some people get more money for getting canceled. So whatever. If that's the route they want to take, go for it. If Brandon wants to get canceled, that's fine. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm not here to argue with it.
but you are there to rock the merch, which you can
Oh,
get.
sure. I'll rock the merch. I'll buy the shirt. I have it. Well, I didn't buy it. Matt sent it to me, but thank you. I will wear it.
Yes,
I do
yes.
support the cause. Let's get Rainin canceled.
There you go. Cancel Rainin Bozio. Hashtag cancel Rainin. And that's double A,
Yeah.
like Arn Anderson, right? And no Glocks. I don't
Is there
think.
double N's too? Double A, double N?
Then you go to the Jeff Jarrett route.
Yeah. R, double
Oh.
A, N, double N.
Which, I mean, You know, as you embark in this new podcast, wrestling and comedy related podcast, like what wrestling are you watching nowadays? There's a lot of wrestling
Mm,
to consume,
mhm.
but what is kind of suiting your fancy?
All right, so I'll tell you my weekly regimen. So while I'm working, I put on most of the wrestlings. I'm always a day behind or 2 days behind because I'm so busy. I don't have time to watch it live. And what I'm watching is Raw and SmackDown. Absolutely, got to watch it. Not because it's good, just because I have to watch it. I have to keep track of it. I'm enjoying SmackDown and what they're doing with Heyman and Brock and Roman. I love that whole story. I know you hate them, but and even my wife is into it. So now whenever she hears my name is Paul Heyman, she comes out of the room like, oh, let's see what's up this week. Like they're obviously doing something right, and I'm watching that. I'm watching AEW Dynamite and Rampage, and I'm occasionally catching GCW and Impact events when I'm interested in whatever the card may be. And I don't watch the whole card either. I'm just watching specific matches. Like GCW, I'll watch. If some of my homies are on it, like if Chris Dickinson's on it, or and any of the many folks that I know at GCW, I'll watch. And then Impact as well. If I see, like right now, the Good Brothers versus God, I gotta watch that. So I'm gonna watch that. Um, but yeah, my weekly regimen is Raw, SmackDown, Rampage, Dynamite, and then if there's anything else in between, I'll sneak it in. I do not watch NXT 2.0 anymore. I used to love NXT, but I've been disappointed with the new class. I don't like most of those people except for maybe Braun Breaker. I'm not into any of the storylines that they're telling. Even the ones that include people like AJ Styles. Like I don't really care about AJ and Keith, whatever his name is, Wallen. I'm and it's no offense to him. I just don't like what they're doing with it. Hopefully they fix that. Ho- you know, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And Raw and SmackDown, by the way, when I watch the replays, I skip around. I don't watch the whole thing.
Right.
I've been considering watching the Hulu edited versions, but I want to be the one to choose where the stuff gets edited. You know what I mean? Like if this is not interesting, I'll just skip it. I don't want some executive deciding what I'm not going to watch.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because like that has kind of been my patronage of WWE TV, right? Where I like, oh fuck, as a wrestling fan, like I get 3 hours and whatever, and once it starts to go shitty, or like, oh fuck, they're gonna do an all cruiserweight show. Oh, WWE superstars, and the Undertaker's on the first episode, right? And it's
Right.
just like, Vince is almost like a kid with the fucking, bouncy ball and whatever, and then he gets bored of the bouncy ball and whatever, but it's still on TV for people to consume, and he's still charging money for it. Just because he lost interest doesn't mean he's not still taking a profit from it,
Right.
So I went like 3 hour maybe just SmackDown, and then nah, and then I'll catch it on Hulu, the 90-minute video, and I just unwatchable, and then the clips. And then I don't even watch the clips anymore. And actually, you mentioned NXT 2.0. Well, I like NXT UK. I like that fucking
UK's
British
good.
world is
UK's good.
yeah, absolutely. But
But they just
I got
lost their biggest star, Gunther.
yes. And here's the deal, right? And I think in terms of the WWE universe, right? And for me, I'm a belt mark. I think that even the way that I kind of go about it is if you are a champion and let's say you have a fucking soiree at your house, people don't know what the fuck you do or whatever, but they're like, oh, you're drinking whatever, and on your mantle is a fucking title belt, the one that you won. I'm like, oh, what's that? And then you get to whatever, and you're like, because of the title design or whatever. I was like, you fought for that wonderful piece of hardware, or like, that shit looks gaudy as fuck. Like, why would you even fucking put your health and well-being for that piece of shit, right? So I actually got, and I think the NXT UK titles are the best designed titles that the WWE are running in their universe right now.
Yeah.
So I got a mini one, right? And this I feel is almost like my spirit speaking through this title, because you have it, and then the fucking WWE fell right the fuck off.
It looks cooler without it.
I think so. But
Uh,
that's kind of it.
well, speaking about belts and speaking about AEW, because
Mm,
the internet seems to think that AEW can do no wrong. I love them, by the way.
yeah,
I think they're doing fantastic, and I think the show is more entertaining and more fun than Raw and SmackDown.
100%.
That being said, Daniel Bryan's promo against Mox the other day, or with Mox, if you want to call it, was exactly how I feel. And I like Luchasaurus. I like everything that's going on. However, Daniel Bryan's got a point, dude. There's a fucking dinosaur as your tag champ. There's a fucking vlogger as your TNT champ, and there's a fucking cosplay fucking cowboy as your world champ. Kind of lame.
Yeah,
So, when you look at it from that perspective, when he said it, it triggered my brain. Like, you're right. You're right. That is, people. Oh, the most prestigious title is the AEW Championship. No, there's a fake cowboy wearing it right now. I think it's time to mix it up. Great story build up for Page to win that belt. He deserves it. Great. We're done. Next.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Next, it's Daniel Bryan's turn, or it's not Lance Archer's turn. I'll tell you that. But maybe it's Daniel Bryan or Mox that ends up taking it from him.
Ooh, yeah. No, I could see that, but I also think that there's a reason why they don't do it. With the fear of like, oh, one of the major kind of criticisms that I heard of AEW is like, okay, well, first champion Jericho, and then what? Like, I think it was Mox after Jericho?
Mox and then Kenny.
Right, exactly. So with that all being said, like, it was ex WWE guys holding the titles, right? And
Except for
you're
Kenny.
gonna, except for Kenny, right? But Kenny, fuck, that's a whole. Ugh. Like I almost feel like fucking Cornette when it comes to Kenny. Like he's just fucking twinkle toes McGee.
I like Kenny. Does he do silly shit? Yeah. Does
Yeah,
he wrestle dolls and little kids?
yeah.
Yes. But he also has put on some ridiculous matches with
Ex,
60-minute matches.
yeah, and exploding death matches.
Yeah. Really great things that he's done to where he's not the best in the world, but he's up there. And when he did the belt collector thing, it worked for me. I was like, yep, that makes sense, and is it aggrandizing and kind of like ridiculous? Yeah, sure, but that's wrestling. So I don't know. I like Kenny. I think he's good. I wish he would trim the fat on some of the sillier things that he does. I like it when he's more serious. I like it. I like the cleaner Kenny from Japan. Like that's cool. But he seems like a good guy. He plays video games, so he's got my video game support back here.
Fuck yeah. And Stephen Tatum says, I think the word on the belt's topic is being more regal. Laugh my ass off.
Regal.
Yeah, regal.
No longer employed.
Yeah, by the WWE. And hopefully can go over to that Jacksonville-based company that we were just speaking of.
I don't want him anywhere. Go home
Really?
and be with your family, Regal.
Wow.
You're good. You're good. It's fine. You've done great contributions. He doesn't need to be in AEW. There's no point.
But I think in terms of direction and what have you, AEW needs, like, essentially they're inheriting, the WWE developmental system
NXT,
in large part.
Black and yellow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope Regal stays home. That's it. He's done enough. He's done enough. Would it be cool for him to like start a fake NXT over there in AEW? Maybe, but
I wouldn't even want to see him on TV. I want to see his kind of virtues through the talent there, because I mean the AEW has done wonders by comparison of the same timeline, in my estimation, of building guys like Sammy Guevara. You mentioned Lance Hoyt, right? I kind of feel like he's DDP of like early 90s DDP. Too many fucking gimmicks, right? Murder Hawk Monster. Like, why can't he just be the Murder Hawk? Right? Yeah. Or just the monster, or whatever the fuck, like Murder Hawk Monster. Then you put him with Jake, and he's got the weird fucking hair and the and the fucking finish, the inverted razor's edge into. It's
he's kind of a biker. I don't even know what's going on.
Right,
kind of a cowboy biker guy.
But you already have the cosplay cowboy there and what have you. So I think Regal can help if they give him power to kind of level out the plane. Just like what.
There's too many cooks in that kitchen already, man. I think. I
But
think there's too many cooks in the
how many
kitchen.
of those cooks actually have power, right? I think Arn Anderson is a on air personality. Same thing with Jim Ross or whatever. And Jim Ross, with his health in recent years, and the death of his wife, I don't think he wants that kind of responsibility. I wouldn't. You're in your kind of twilight years. So,
Hmm.
but if you can have somebody that everybody trusts, I think of Vince, of fucking, Jericho, or, the powers that be that exist within AEW now, Danielson, Mox, like whatever, Regal would be the guy to kind of help all of that and kind of give virtue to maybe what Arn and Tully are saying behind the scenes. I don't know. Like in my head, it works.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, I
We'll
want it to
see.
work.
It would be cool. I honestly have gotten past that point of like fantasy booking in my head anymore because it's so the WWE doesn't care, and then AEW's got too much going on. I feel like there's like I said, too many cooks in the kitchen. It's done, and they're doing well. Like I'm not criticizing them. I like AEW. By the way, House of Black, coolest fucking thing on television. Obviously for me, I'm wearing like metal type shit that looks like it should be for House of Black. That's not House of Black. That's Saint Vitus and my buddy from Cult Leader Anthony Lucero's collaboration. But um, but yeah, I love what House of Black is doing. Brody is a homie, and I'm happy that he's got some TV, like good TV time now, out of ROH. And no offense to ROH, but it's not AEW. You're not on TBS or TNT, so I'm happy for him. Malachi Black being a stud. I can't. uh, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of everything they do. Their aesthetic, their music. I like the old song a little bit better, even though the new song's good, and it's got my homie Jordan Olds playing guitar on it from 2 Minutes to Late Night. So it's a good song. I'm not criticizing that song, but I really really liked the other song, Ogen Roost. I forget. I don't know how to pronounce it, but from that band. Now I'm losing it. My brain. The name of the band, but the original entrance that Malachi had.
Yeah, it's crazy. You mentioned your buddy, right? 2 minutes to late light. Fucking Arsenio Hall. That is
Yes,
one of
sir.
the many fucking wormholes that I went down during COVID, especially like my YouTube algorithm. It was like, yeah, of course I had my wrestling and whatever, but then I got into like tiny house conversions, but also fucking 2 minutes late light. Like
Mm.
I think the way that I found them was I like fucking Annie Lennox is walking on broken glass. And like you had the official video, you had Annie Lennox and whatever. And I think third was this fucking cover that this guy in fucking face paint and shit like that with Brody Dale and a bunch of other, I think Frank from My Chemical Romance and shit like that.
Frankie Arrow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, and I actually thank them because through that, it was like a share believe cover with one of the craziest fucking female vocalists, but not just female. She just happens to be female. But the fucking Royal Thunder, holy
Oh yeah.
fucking shit, dude!
Yeah.
Like the bass playing, the licks that she plays on bass, but also that's human emotion. You can't fucking. That's somebody that's been through shit. And I just dig her whole aesthetic, fucking leather, fucking vest or whatever. But I learned that of them through 2 minutes to late night over the
That's awesome,
pandemic.
man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I met Jordan Corsinio a while ago when they were doing 2 Minutes to Late Night was just like a late night show. It was kind of like Conan O'Brien. He had a desk and they would have guests come in and they would do silly stuff and then they would perform a song with Mutoid Man. And it was usually a cover of something. And they had like Hot for Teacher or something like that. And immediately reached out to him like, man, I love this. This is fantastic. It speaks directly to me. Like, I love the music. I'm big fan of Mutoid Man, big fan of all of this, and had him on the show. I brought him on the podcast, and then shortly after that, he started doing the pandemic hit, and he started doing those cover songs that are now all over the internet. He got 1 million something views on the one with I think it was Primus, Mastodon, and maybe Coheed and Cambria
Mm-hmm.
collaborated on a song all together. And I keep reaching out to him like, dude, what? How did you get all these guys to do this? And he's like, I I don't know, man. Like, this is insane. And he's kind of like me in that sense. Where like, I don't know how I'm this lucky. You know what I mean? But he's insanely talented. So that's why he's getting these opportunities. He can play guitar and he's got a great voice and he's got you can tell he's got the schooled performance. Like, he's gone to classes and schools for like performance art because he's well spoken. He enunciates. He's, it's all there. It's all there. So, I had him again on the podcast not too long ago, and I'm just super happy for him. And now he's working with AEW, making songs. He's working with Danhausen, working songs for them. He helped him make the Ass Boys song for the Gun Club. So it's really cool, man. And one thing I want to bring up, that it's not just me. I feel like everyone's doing cool shit. All of my friends, everybody's coming up. Like, you're doing the shit with Bischoff. He's doing all that crazy shit. And, everywhere I look, my buddies are doing big things. Like, Matt Edgar, who's from the Store Horseman, his girl, Rachel Wilson, us two would hang out at the store and just smoke weed or whatever. Now she's an official Jackass.
Yeah, I was about to say,
what I mean?
Yeah, and that drops today.
Yeah, dude, it's so nuts seeing everyone doing stuff and being amongst people that are doing things. That's one of the major reasons why I moved out of Florida, and it's well, fuck that. No, Florida sucks. But I left Florida because there's nothing going on down there, and the people that live there are just comfortable living there, and they're like, we're good, we're happy here. I'm like, okay, good for you. I'm not. I got to get out of here and make some shit happen. And there's no opportunities in Florida, and especially Miami down south. Like, there's nothing. Unless you're in art or dance music, you're not succeeding. Metal bands and rock bands. We were struggling down there when I was in a band, the Sever, just playing local shows, and we built it up to it. We were packing out Churchills and stuff, and it was great. But from what I understand, as soon as like our band stopped, being a band there, and people started moving out of the state, the scene is dying again. And a quick shout out to my homies in the band Silent Mara. They're one of the few that have been kind of like shining over there in Florida. And right now, yesterday actually, they were on Twitch for Danny Wimmer Presents Space Zebra World. I don't know the full name of the podcast, but it's a podcast that Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit's part of, and Danny Wimmer and Terry Bezer, like the Bezer. I don't know how to say his last name, but it was a big Twitch stream. There was like 12,000 people watching, and they were doing like a battle of the bands, which I thought was really cool. They had a tournament bracket with a bunch of unsigned bands, and they would show about 1 minute and 30 seconds of each band's videos. And then the hosts would talk about it for a bit, and then they would put up a poll on Twitch, and you can vote which one you liked best. And I sat through the whole thing. I was expecting like, I'm just going to tune in for my boys and vote for them. But I watched the whole show, and it was fantastic. And then you see these unsigned bands that are putting effort. They're putting out quality videos. They're putting out quality recordings, and they're just not getting any deals because labels don't fucking sign bands anymore. So that was really cool. So shout out to Silent Mara because they won their first round and they have moved up in the tournament. Those are my boys. We played a ton of shows. I've sang songs with them on stage. They have some of their songs that they have that I would just learn some of the parts and we would just do shows. Like if you YouTube Silent Mara and Eddy Torres, you'll find clips of us singing and performing together. But yeah, shout out to them. I don't know how I went in that direction. I think we were talking about music and whatnot.
No, that's fucking great because I mean we usually kind of round out the deal with the shout outs and whatever, but you alluded to it. But fuck, dude, I mean you mentioned fucking Arsenio Hall, Wes Borland, and fucking Danhausen, and for me that's my fucking shit, man. Like they're just different. Like how do you get a fucking Wes Borland? I mean, aside from maybe Ace Frehley, to an extent, right? Like you go like Twiggy.
So you like face paint, is what you're saying?
It's not like I just like different shit, man. Like
you like face paint. All three of those guys wear face paint.
It just so happens that they do. 100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it just so happens.
Oh come on! It's not like I have a fucking great mood.
You have a you do. You do. You like that shit.
Yes,
you like 100%. The face.
Fuck yeah. No, but I mean those. It's just different. Like I like different shit, and it was wild because growing up, kind of biracial, African descendant of slave, Fijian or whatever, and always in a place where that wasn't necessarily vogue, aside from maybe the Bay where I was born, the Bay Area in San Francisco. So I kind of shied away from it, and then now I'm leaning into it, and I just like different shit. So how you could go fucking wrestling, I don't know, Gotch and Hackenschmidt and whatever. I've never seen a fucking Danhausen before. I've never seen an Abaddon before. A fucking Billy Robinson slash Josh Barnett protege in the WWE, and it's a fucking female. Yeah. Like it's so different. I like different shit, so I fucking dig what's going on, and that Toot Stream, like I fucking like it. I like it. Of course, there's 12,000 people there. When you put that and you try to highlight an emerging scene, and for that to happen, right? Just think of all individually those 12 bands fucking trudging and whatever, and you suck and whatever. You have to work this job. Why don't you get a real job? We've heard it, and all that shit. And that's let's say 4 people in a band, right? And then 12 band, whatever. That's like damn near 100 people that are kind of like, oh fuck, this is our chance, man. Like it's fucking dope. And it kind of is eerily similar to the Kill Tony shit. For different
it gives people a platform. It gives people a platform. And even those bands that don't qualify and move forward in the tournament, you're getting shown on the show. You got 12,000 people watching your video.
Right.
And I was looking at the chat, and I would see people like, whoa, there should be a show just about this. And we could watch independent unsigned bands. Like, this is fantastic. So people are hungry for it, and I'm glad that someone's doing it. I mean, I wish that existed when I was in a band.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have definitely partaken in that. But whatever. It is what it is. But it's cool. I'm really happy with the vibe of the world, even though there's still a lot of chaos and there's still a lot of virus bullshit and a lot of political bullshit, and now we got like whatever's happening over in Russia. Like there's always going to be some bullshit because I mean, I'm 40 now and I've seen a lot of bullshit. You know what I mean? So I know that there's always going to be bullshit, and you need to focus on the good shit that's happening, like we are, and pay attention to these things that are growing, and feed into that stuff. Feed into the good. Stop feeding into the negativity shit. Stop. Oh, Joe Rogan sucks. Who cares? We know. Move along. Like, get out of the Twitter worlds of hating each other and bullying each other. Oh, I don't like you. Like, look, I'm not excited about the new Batman movie. I think Robert Pattinson sucks. But I'm not going to go on Twitter and make a rant about it. I'm not going to tweet the guy and be like, hey, Rob, you suck as Batman. Like, no one fucking... why do you need to do that? Why is this culture and we embrace it? Oh, the trolls are so cool, man. We're great troll. Like, no, man. Don't encourage trolls. Don't encourage fucking bullies. If you have an opinion, keep it to yourself unless somebody asks. Like, hey, what do you think about the new Batman? Then you can tell me. But don't fucking start plastering your negativity everywhere. So focus on the good stuff. Feed the good stuff, and more good stuff will grow in your life and in every aspect of your life. I don't know.
No, I agree. I fucking agree. And, in terms of confidentiality, whatever is said on According to Woods stays on According to Woods. There you go. Just in case you didn't know. But obviously, for you to get where you are, there had to be a throng of people to support whatever your endeavors were, all the crazy cockamamie I'm high at 3 a.m. fucking ideas and shit and following through, So take as long as you need. Let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Oh man, definitely anyone that listens to my podcast, shout out to you. Thank you for being a supporter and listening to my bullshit. Even you, Adam, like I know you watch. I'm one of those weirdos. When I make posts, I go look at who's looking and leaving comments, and I thank them. I go to their page and heart a couple of their bullshit. It's part of the community. You gotta like give and take. So shout out to all of you that do it already. Shout out to you, Adam, for having me here and letting me talk. And shout out to the Comedy Store for giving me an opportunity. Shout out to John, the producer down there at Comedy Store Records, for giving me a shot. Shout out to Earl Skakel. Go listen to Inappropriate Earl. Go watch The Jellies. I think it's on HBO Max. and support Earl in his endeavors, and thank him for giving me a shot too, to work with me, to be a part of this whole thing. Shout out to Barnett for being the first guest and for being a homie and always being down to do cool stuff with me. Um, who else? Shout out to Jetski for coming on and being a part of that with us as well. Shout out to fucking Chris Burns from the Store Horseman. He and I tried to work together with Wrestle Fetish, and it wasn't anything negative or anything. It just everybody's busy. Like I said, it's same issue that Store Horseman had. Chris is too busy. He's got a big boy job. he books Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle, and like that's his job. He gets Dave Chappelle gigs. So that's a big job. So I get it. Shout out to all the crew from Wrestle Fetish too. I'm always down to go back and do Wrestle Fetish. By the way, even though the Comedy Store Wrestling show is happening, I'm always down to come in and do more Wrestle Fetish. I'm down to come here do this. I'm down to meet the round table with BJ. Shout out to them and all that. And I'm always thankful that you guys let me talk crap, because that kind of inspired me to I can have a wrestling show. I feel like I have opinions. But anyway, that's a shout out to everyone. Shout out to everyone that's watching, everyone that's at home. Like I said earlier, feed the positivity in your life.
Yeah, and the missus, right? The missus too, right?
Shout out to my wife who's in the room right now listening to me talk shit. She's working, doing her day job. So yes, shout out to the missus.
Hell yes. Fucking, I almost want to do what the fucking, ladies, he's taken.
I'm taken, sorry.
Yes. No, Eddie, thank you for coming on. You've been absolutely gracious with your fucking time. Just support, man. And you're one of the guys that, we were friends, but during this whole pandemic, when you see you scour the scorched earth and you see who your motherfuckers are, I'm proud to say that you're one of my bad motherfuckers.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And like I said, thank you for having me on. And you're the first person I've spoken to about this new show, new endeavor. So you got the exclusive, sir.
Yes. I don't usually fish for them, but it's cool when they come my way. So greatly appreciated. And obviously I've linked everything in the bio in terms of getting in contact with you and seeing all the cool shit that you're doing. But I've said it once, but it bears repeating. Where can they find you on the interwebs?
At RRBG Podcast for my show. That's the podcast that I do where I talk to bands, I talk to athletes, I talk to wrestlers, I talk to comedians, I talk to actors. Right now, this week, it's Brandon Boyd from Incubus. There's a couple other big ones on the way, and keep an eye out for that. I'm not going to stop. It may slow down. I've been doing two or three a week. I might slow that down a little bit just so I can focus on the new show. But follow also at Comedy Store Records for now. That's where the podcast, the Comedy Store Wrestling Podcast, will live. It's their network. We'll eventually have our own social media, and I want to we'll be posting funny clips and updates on what's going on in the wrestling world and comedy worlds. But for now, just follow at Comedy Store Records. Follow Earl at Earl Skakel on all the things too, so you can get to know him as well. And that's about it, man. At RRBG Podcast for everything else.
Fuck yes. Again, Eddie, I'm so proud of you. I'm glad that you're doing the fucking thing, because when I'm like, oh fuck, is this fucking thing ever gonna work? Eddy Torres and a litany of others are out there fucking fighting the good fight. So I appreciate the shit out of you.
Thanks, yeah. Oh, one last thing. Get you some beer. NotFestBeerPit.com. Get the box of beer that I curated. You'll like them all. I made it each beer's different. So you don't like one, give it to your friend. And if you don't drink beer, I'm sure you know somebody that does. I'm sure you know somebody that their entire personality is craft beer. They go and they stand in lines and they go to the store releases and all that stuff. I'm sure you know someone. Don't worry. But buy them that as a gift. I'm sure it has other half. You can't find other half beer in California. It's from New York and they don't ship anywhere else. I made that happen. So go get it.
Go fucking get it. I'm just saying. Get after it. And thank you guys for joining us here at According to Woods. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Eddie, you're fucking subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
I am. Absolutely. Make sure you subscribe to According to Woods. Do it.
Do it right now. But if you don't believe me, you don't believe Eddie, don't know why you wouldn't. Here's Zeta Zhang to help convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to According to Woods YouTube.